I'm always interested in the lessons that you learn and any of the pivots that you learn in a new business along the way. I think they're fascinating. Talk about some of those lessons in your early stages at PHN.
Well, lots of lessons, lots of learnings, lots of pivots along the way. We entered into a new space, so there was no playbook to go out and learn from, to steal, if you will, how others have already done it. So we're writing the playbook, if you will. I would say the first thing we had to do was to identify and understand what the challenges were to actually integrating hearing healthcare services into a primary care office. And people have done it at a local level for years. As I said, I worked, had a couple offices that were in primary care. But, we're talking hundreds of locations, if not, thousands of locations eventually that'll be inside primary care physicians' offices. So really understanding what the challenges were up to this point, or at this point, what those challenges are. We had to learn what they were and then begin developing solutions to how to overcome those challenges. And the biggest learning related to that would be understanding a typical primary care physician's office's workflow. How do they process patients? And then how do we take our best practices of workflow and how do we assimilate that into theirs, because they are less likely to adjust to ours, right? So, instead of doing that, we had to figure out how to do that. So we had to be the ones willing to adapt our best practices to what fits into theirs. And then once we were able to do that, then as we grew in locations, the variables started reducing, they started decreasing, and our predictability got better, in terms of expected outcomes. So that's been good. I'm sure Barb, that the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. So from that standpoint,
bring it on.
It's been great.
Bring it on, right?
Yep.
That is the real secret sauce there, right? If you're able to crack the code on that. And I think you actually pointed out something really important. There's been many hearing industry people who have actually tried to bring hearing into like a convenience store or, a drugstore or those kinds of things. And we're always trying to take our model and plop it in somewhere. What you did is something different. You actually worked the way to actually combine it into the PCP workflow.
Right. And, our team did a great job of networking to gain a better understanding of what that was, how we would do that. And, in the beginning of the company, we've gone through a number of iterations and, there'll be a few more, but there was successes in each of those iterations. But how scalable, how big, how fast could you go in that iteration? So, for us, with the plans we have, as ambitious as they are, we weren't going to be satisfied with those iterations. We had to continue to push ourselves to learn more on how we could do it better, to be bigger, faster. And, I think that we're at that point now where probably the biggest learnings that we had to encounter and solve were there.